Support for this episode comes from Dexcom. When I think about our family's use of CGM and Dexcom, it's getting harder and harder to remember how we did things before. I mean, how did we manage when Benny needed something like 10 finger sticks a day when he was a toddler? We thought it was amazing to switch to Dexcom CGM when it needed to be calibrated twice a day. Remember that? Now, Dexcom G6 eliminates finger sticks for calibration and diabetes treatment decisions. We love the alerts and alarms, and that we can change them both for him and for us. A lot has changed as Benny has grown from a toddler with type 1 to a college student. Dexcom Share and Follow has let us help give him more and more independence. If your glucose alerts and readings from the G6 do not match symptoms or expectations, use a blood glucose meter to make diabetes treatment decisions. Learn more, go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the Dexcom logo.
This is Diabetes Connections with Stacey Sims.
This week, when my son was diagnosed with type 1 more than 17 years ago, the day he would eventually leave home seemed very far away, but we knew it was also something that we needed to plan for. Well, Benny finished his freshman year of college a couple of weeks ago. He goes to school 300 miles away, and he's here to talk about it. We answer your questions about how it went, how he managed, how I managed, and what's next. This podcast is not intended as medical advice. If you have those kinds of questions, please contact your healthcare provider. Welcome to another week of Diabetes Connections. I'm your host, Stacey Sims. You know we aim to educate and inspire about diabetes with a focus on people who use insulin. As this episode is being released, I'm on my way to Children with Diabetes Friends for Life, the really big family conference that happens every year in Orlando. If you're there or heading there yourself, please stop on by. I am booth T3. I am right by Dexcom up front, which should be a lot of fun. Please follow along on social media. I'm going to be talking about some specials I have going on for my books and for Mom's Night Out. We'll be doing some fun stuff in conjunction with Friends for Life. Of course, Mom's Night Out is my conference for moms of kids with diabetes. We are in 4 locations this year. We have already been in Chicago and Charlotte, and this fall, we will be in Denver and Philadelphia. More locations to come for 2025. Couple of quick things about Benny. If you're a longtime listener, you already know most of this. But if you're new around here, he was diagnosed right before he turned 2. That was back in 2006. So it's more than 17 years now. I have talked to him just about every year for the show. He was 10 when we launched Diabetes Connections. So we have a really interesting record of our family's story with diabetes. I've also interviewed his older sister, Leah, a couple of times, and I will link those past episodes up as well. Frankly, I feel like siblings always get shortchanged. So if you're curious about how we have managed that, the answer is, I don't know, not well, not perfectly, best I could. But Leah's really frank about it. And I've heard from a lot of people that those conversations have helped them a lot. Benny also always has terrible mic technique. I don't really know how to describe that other than you'll know it when you hear it. My editor, John Buchanan, is a magician, but even he cannot take out all of the weird noises that Benny makes. And also, he holds the microphone. It's terrible. You'll actually hear us talk about it this episode, I think. So I apologize for that. I say this every episode that it's not medical advice, but when I talk to Benny, I always get a little nervous and I leave it in. You'll hear, as I always do. But I like to say, we all parent differently. So we all parent differently with diabetes. And if what you hear isn't your cup of tea, manage a different way. We're good. And besides, he's 19. So it's a little late now. Also, this interview, I think, turns into more of a therapy session towards the end. I actually think the last 5 minutes is really, really good. Very honest. Also, Benny wants your kids' questions. He'd love to know what your kids would like to know about growing up. He's had diabetes almost his whole life. So I will be asking for that in the Facebook group and at Friends for Life if you're there. All right. I will get to the conversation with Benny. Always interesting with that guy right after this. It used to be that you would have to choose between an automated insulin delivery system and the freedom of a tubeless device. Now, with Omnipod 5, you can have the best of both worlds all in one. Omnipod 5 adapts with every pod change to meet your unique insulin needs and adjusts insulin using a customized target glucose, not a range. If you're ready to ditch the multiple daily injections or send your tubed pump packing, there's never been a better time. They'll even check your insurance coverage for you. Fill out the quick online form, see if you're eligible for a free trial. Go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the Omnipod logo. For full safety risk information and free trial terms and conditions, visit omnipod.com/diabetesconnections. Hi, Benny.
Hello.
It's so nice to have you home.
Hello.
How have you been?
Good. I'm sorry, it's so artificial.
All right, so you've been home for almost a month.
Yeah.
I can't believe that. It went very fast.
Yeah, and I'm going to be home for like 3 more.
Yeah, almost. You know, we've been away, you've been busy, so this is the first chance we've really had to catch up, that either of us wanted to catch up, that we had the energy to catch up. Before I ask you a bunch of questions, how was your freshman year?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. That's it, I get good. Oh
good.
My God. We haven't talked about diabetes for the podcast the entire year.
Yeah.
How do you think diabetes went this year? High level.
What level?
High level. Like, not in the minutia of it, but like overall, how did the diabetes go?
I've never heard that term before. No, I don't know. Diabetes, and like this was the first time I was like actually on my own. I guess not. There have been a couple times where like if I'm at a friend's house or like,
Sure.
But like this is long term. Like there's not an adult overseeing me.
Yeah, no, you've done it for a night or two here or there, but even the programs when you've gone away for a month or you've been at camp or
there's
even
always like someone
lifeguarding.
who's already in charge that they're like
they'll
monitoring.
check on you.
I mean, I've had diabetes for so long that it's at this point it's like second nature. Like it doesn't really impact me at all. So everything I do, it just kind of it's on autopilot. So like from my perspective, it's just like that's how it is.
I feel silly asking you this question, but I'm going to ask you some just for the benefit of some listeners who have asked me to ask you. Were you nervous about going away with diabetes?
Not at all.
Let's talk a little bit about how you managed, just in terms of the practicality. So we packed a big bin.
Yeah, we did.
It was just a big bin. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't what I would have done.
I didn't want it to be big and fancy and pretty. I was living with someone else.
Even the bin was ugly.
You take that back.
It was black and yellow. It was very utilitarian.
Yeah, when we moved into this house with those bins, you take it back.
All right, we did. We have about 8 of those bins, and we've moved a lot of stuff in them. But that was under your bed all year. You never changed that system.
No.
All right. So everything from Dexcom sensors to pump supplies to low
all
crap,
of my
everything.
diabetes supplies was in that one box.
Okay, and it came home in pretty good shape.
It's kind of dirty, but
Well, everything was all dirty. It was like camp. I washed everything as soon as it came in the
perfect.
house. I gave Benny 1 load of laundry. I told him I would do his laundry when he got home, and then he could do it himself this summer. Of course, I didn't realize it would be, I should have realized it would be like 10 loads of laundry. But that worked out okay. Oh my gosh, I have so many questions for you. Let me think
Ask
about
me.
this. Yeah, I will. I think most of my listeners know that I don't follow you. I don't use the share and follow of the Dexcom. Did anybody follow you?
Nope.
You didn't share with friends? Because you've done that before.
I considered it, but me and my roommate weren't really like, we were more acquaintances than anything else. We didn't really get along perfectly. And he was playing hockey, so he was out till like 2 a.m. most nights, at least for like the majority of the year. So I never really, I never ended up doing that. I did think about it for a little while, and I thought about it for next year, but the guy that I was thinking of giving it to is no longer coming to school. So
Oh, not one of your roommates, though.
yes, one of my roommates.
Oh, so you lost one of your housemates?
Yeah.
You're down to 2?
Yeah.
All right, news to me.
He's going to try and come back junior year, though.
All right, good. I think that's an interesting decision about who you would have follow you, because I know you've had some friends in the past, right?
Well, so my friend Jackson used to follow me because we have another friend who also has diabetes, and like it's kind of a joke about like if my blood sugar is like 120 and his is like 122, I get to like text him. I'm like, "Oh, I'm winning." Or like if like one time his blood sugar was like 60 and I was like 220, and he was like, "Oh, I'm winning." I was like, "No, you're not."
Speaking of that friend, so tell the story. This is not related to college. That you guys were together. I don't remember if this was winter break or this just happened
When
last
I shared
month.
his pump?
Yeah.
Oh, that was winter break. So we went to a place called China Buffet, and we sat down and we started eating, and probably like 15 minutes in, he went to bolus and he was like, "I forgot my pump at home." And this is an Asian place, so like
It was a buffet.
it was an Asian buffet, so it's carb heavy. And I was like, "We use the same pump, just use mine."
But I thought didn't have any insulin in it. He just didn't have his pump.
No, he didn't have his pump at all.
Oh my gosh.
So I just unplugged mine and gave it to him.
But he has an infusion set.
Yeah. Well, like, you shower, you take it off.
I get it.
That happened to me a couple times at college. I'd like walk out of my dorm room and like check my pockets. I'm like, oh, my pump is not on.
But to finish the story with your friend, he just clipped it onto his infusion set and went on with his day. Went on with his buffet.
No, I mean, he gave himself like a good chunk of insulin and then gave it back. And he was like, okay.
I don't know why I think that's so funny. It's like an oxygen mask or something. I don't know. It just seems funny. Did you guys think it was funny?
For like a quarter of a second.
And then you went on eating.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about in college when you forgot stuff. So you're human. That's going to happen. I assume the majority of the time, please, Lord, you went back and got your pump.
I went back and got my pump every time.
Benny thinks that I think that he's the worst.
That's not true.
I don't. I just worry because it's hard.
I don't think you think I'm the worst.
Right.
I think you think I'm the best.
I know you're not the best.
Hey, you're the one that wrote a book calling yourself the worst.
I think you're
Twice.
I think you're human. I don't think you're perfect.
By the book.
Yeah, thank you. You're good PR for me. So let's do it like this. First semester went differently than I thought it was going to because you decided to rush a fraternity.
I did.
We don't have to get into every sordid detail of that, but that took a lot of your time.
Yeah.
And it really threw you off your routine.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. So I got to be honest with you. When you came home and got your A1C, and we're not going to talk specific numbers here. I really need to be honest with everybody. I say I don't follow you, but of course I have access to your numbers still because I'm still signed into Clarity. So the way I managed my worry was that I would look, Clarity, if you're not familiar, is the Dexcom app or web-based device where you can kind of look and see a large number of, you can look back and see 90 days, you can look in different increments, a large amount of time. So what I decided to do was use the 2-day Clarity look back.
The 2-day?
Yeah, there's 2 days, the number 2, like 48 hours. So I would look back and say, okay, my plan was really to use that and use the 1 week so that if you were really low a lot, it was only an average number that I could see, it wasn't anything in real time, or you were super high for a sustained period of time, then I would think about reaching out and saying, are you okay? But I never had to do that. It never got to the point where I felt that was necessary. And I actually found it really kind of comforting to do that. I felt like, okay, I'm being a good mom. I'm watching, is he safe? I'm looking into things. And there were 1 or 2 times where you actually texted me or we would talk weekly and you would say something like, oh my God, this thing happened or whatever. Yeah. And then I would see it in the next couple days. But there was never a time when you were like very high for extended periods of time it never happened where you didn't tell me, like, I don't remember what happened. When something happened for a semester where an infusion set didn't work or, something like that. There was one time when you called us and you were like, I went to bed with an infusion set that was bad and I didn't realize it and I woke up at 400 and I feel like crap today. And then 2 days later it showed up on Clarity, so I knew. So that was very helpful to me. But I could see that your numbers were higher than they were in high school, where you were largely independent. And everybody was telling me, leave him alone, leave him alone, leave him alone. And then you came home and your A1C was higher than it had been in a while, but our wonderful endocrinologist said to me, he's safe enough, leave him alone, which I thought was horrible advice.
I thought it was pretty good.
And he should be fired.
Wow. I'll rehire him personally.
Is that your perspective of the first semester pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, I know the real reasons why my blood sugar was so high. Like, obviously, I can't really get into that. But mostly it was just like, I had to take my pump off for a while just because, like, I didn't want it to break.
Yeah, I don't need to know the details.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go any further than that. So, like, beyond when I had to take my pump off, it was just, like, it's a pain in the ass sometimes, and, like, I don't want to deal with it. And, like, I'm willing to feel like for a little while to have to not deal with it.
That's interesting. I can't say, like, oh, I understand, because obviously I don't, not having diabetes, but that sounds like a normal.
I think about it I connect it to, like, how people are dairy-free. And I eat ice cream anyway because it tastes really good. And then they're on the toilet for like 6 hours.
Can you try to speak a little bit less crassly?
No.
Oh, Lord. That is a really interesting way to think about it because I try to eat gluten-free. And on the way back from the Friends for Life conference where I saw you in Virginia, I was like, I really want a wrap. And I ate it and I had a stomachache the next day. And
that's what diabetes is like.
Because we're human and we're dummies. Yeah.
The Friends for Life was really fun.
I'm so glad you went. I'm so glad you went. All right, we're going to talk about that.
Ooh.
We'll come back to it.
Ooh.
But let's go through.
Find out next time on Diabetes Connections.
Jeez.
Brought to you by Stacey Sims Media.
We're going to get back to it, but let's keep going chronologically.
All rights reserved, all wrongs avenged.
I love that. But you have to say it like this. All rights reserved?
No.
You were 11.
I know. We did it in the car. Outside of our endos.
Wait a minute. You weren't 11 because you're 19.
I'm about to be 20.
I think you were about
Hey.
6 months. You were 9.
You.
That's crazy. Okay, anyway.
Okay.
Totally getting off track.
Waiting.
So then winter break was fantastic. We went to Costa Rica.
That was great.
Yeah, we had a really fun family vacation celebrating Benny's high school graduation, Leah's college graduation, and our 25th wedding anniversary. I'm sorry, should we have gone to Costa Rica without you? Because you weren't home all last summer.
I left school 2 weeks early, too.
Yeah, but we did it on purpose because we knew everybody would be around and it was celebrating everything. It was hard for me with diabetes because I said to him, I'm going to try to leave you alone. I haven't talked to you about it for 3 months. Be patient with me. So you were very patient. I'm pretty sure I packed your diabetes supplies because I just couldn't handle leaving the country without knowing that everything was good. And it was great. There was nothing on that trip that I'm thinking of that went bananas. You don't remember anything?
I don't remember the trip.
Well, we did kayaking. We did ATV. Well, you did ATV. I did horseback riding. Yeah, remember? We did, we were in the hot springs a lot, which you did take your pump off for probably. And
I was in the hot springs once.
Oh, I was in the hot springs.
I slept a lot.
You did sleep a lot. That's right. You were like the sloths we saw.
Okay, well, like, you're taking me back from my first semester of college. Like, I'm going to sleep.
Yeah, you were tired. No, that was really fun. We had that really fun beach day.
I love that. We should go back.
Yeah, well, we'll go back to many more beaches. Okay, you went back to school.
I did.
You had a calmer semester.
I had significantly calmer semester.
And your numbers were a lot better.
My numbers were a lot better.
But still, I'll be honest with you, just from what I can see, not like they had been in high school. So, but much improved. I don't like to share specifics, but just to try to be clear, probably A1C down by half a point if I had to guess. How was eating? Right back to the interview, but first, Diabetes Connections is brought to you by Edgepark. Take control of your diabetes with a broad range of diabetes management supplies from Edgepark. The latest diabetes supplies and continuous glucose monitors from top brands simplify blood sugar management. Edgepark accepts most insurance plans, and Medicare and Medicare Advantage cover certain devices. Plus, Edgepark takes care of the insurance paperwork to make ordering as seamless as possible. Go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the Edgepark logo to learn more about Edgepark's diabetes supplies and CGM devices. You were right next door to the dining hall.
I was.
But, it's kind of hard in college. You're on no schedule.
Yeah. My problem with specifically that dining hall is after, it's advertised as 24/7, but, after 9 o'clock, it's just pizza and burgers. So, if I'm up late, studying or something, my options are pizza and burgers, which I do not always want to have. Or cereal.
Big salad guy?
Sometimes they have really good salads there. Sometimes they make these, pre-made stuff, and it's, yummy.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, you want chicken, vegetables, normal stuff.
God, sometimes the food there is just so bad.
I hear it a lot from college students.
I don't understand how you can make a dining hall of bad food. And it's not normal dining hall stuff. George Mason has a very big international population. So a lot of the food is Middle Eastern, yummy stuff.
Yeah, but you like a lot. I mean, that's great for you. I mean, you like lots of different kinds of food.
Yeah.
So you're not a picky eater or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know how to pick. There's one dining hall on the other side of campus that is not 24/7, that has the best food in the world, and it is below international housing. So people that come from they're really strict about their diets or religious stuff.
Oh.
They live there, and all of the dorms meet their needs, and the food always meets their needs.
Well, you'll have your car next semester, so you'll be able to zip over there.
That was another reason I wanted my car, because my fraternity, that's kind of our it's not our hangout spot, but in our group chats, it's called the Globe. So someone will text in the group chat, Globe ? And everyone's bet, pick me up.
Bet. Oh, I love it. Okay. A question I get asked a lot is what happens with Lowe's when mom's not following and the whole thing. Did you have a lot of Lowe's?
I say no, but I also came back with no Lowe's supplies besides the gummies.
Oh.
I did have a couple Lowe's It was never during the day. It was always, I got in bed at night, and then my blood sugar would go low.
And so you just reach into that big bucket?
Yeah.
All right. I guess what my biggest concern is, well, obviously my biggest concern is something terrible could happen to you. But one of my top concerns is that just diabetes would just get in the way. You'd have a low when you didn't want to treat. You'd be high and didn't feel good enough to do something. Did that happen a lot? I've got to imagine it happened once. Something's clicking. Are you clicking the microphone?
It's probably the wire hitting it.
All right, maybe you should wear it. It's a lavalier.
That is not a lavalier.
Yes, it is a lavalier microphone.
A lavalier is the thing you give your fraternity girlfriend.
Well, that's another. It's a lavalier microphone because it's modeled like a necklace.
Ooh.
Oh, Gvoke.
I want to hold it.
Okay, you can hold the lavalier microphone. It's unprofessional. Did you have any times when lows or highs?
Your toes are on me.
Got on the chair. Oh my God. Got in the way?
I always refuse to let diabetes get in my way. So, like, the most that ever happens to me is annoyance.
Well, I think a perfect example is, was it 2 days ago? You were at work and your pump was not attached to your body. So you had to be $1 billion and you just kept working.
Yeah.
So when you say diabetes doesn't get in the way, you're basically saying you're willing to feel like crap.
I said that like 10 minutes ago.
Okay. I'm just trying to interpret. Do you know how crazy that makes me?
Oops. I may have said too much.
No, listen, I appreciate you being honest. I'm certainly not going to. I didn't drive to work. I'm like, my baby.
Yeah, thank God. So you guys did do that when I worked at Harris Teeter.
We did.
One time. It was a closing shift, and I didn't have any of my diabetes stuff, and I needed a new inset, and you drove it over to me.
But that's different. I was just about to say, I think what I like is that if you did need something, you could always call me, and I would bring it without a big to-do, and no scolding or anything like that. Maybe I should have scolded you more.
No.
But that's different than running into the supermarket screaming, my baby.
Yeah, I think I'd have a heart attack if you did that.
Me too. That'd be terrible. And I don't know if we said this, but like you used to work at the Harris Teeter supermarket. Now this summer you got a job at Fresh Market, but you were like in the produce, same department.
But I get paid a lot better.
You get paid more. Well, you're older now too, and you have more responsibilities. Did you meet anybody at George Mason with diabetes?
I think I saw someone once, but no.
They have a really good College Diabetes Network chapter there, so I knew you weren't going to join it when you went there. That's fine.
Yeah, no.
We also filed all the disability paperwork.
I never interacted with that office.
I was just going to say, you never. Even when you could have first semester, because your air conditioning.
Yeah, so when I moved in, our air conditioning was very much broken.
Yeah.
And for probably like 3 weeks in Virginia, and coming out of summer, it was like 80 degrees outside.
Right, and he didn't call us, really. You didn't complain, which is not on brand. You didn't really complain for the first week and a half, and then you did. And I said, dummy, go to the Office of Disability. You'll get an air conditioning.
Yeah, but by the time you guys knew, I knew that I was getting a portable. Like the maintenance people had said we were getting portable air conditioners, which when they came in and it was fine. And then the second it started getting cold, they didn't give us a week or like the second there was a single day below 60, they're like, all right, get those out of there. And then weather isn't consistent. So then the next week it was hot again. And that was terrible. And then they didn't bring them back until there were 5 consecutive days above 70 degrees. And that did not happen for so long because like one day it was like 68. And I was like, oh. And then they fixed the AC with like 3 weeks left. Gee, thanks.
Wow. But you could go to the Office of Disability and they would probably help you out more. Because like being overheated is not good for people with diabetes. I'm just saying.
Wait, really? It's not good for anybody.
Yeah, but it's especially not good for you.
Why?
I don't know.
Hemoglobin?
For a lot of people,
glycogen,
being exposed to excessive heat does a couple of things. It can cause dehydration, which is also very bad for people with diabetes, and it can affect people's blood sugar.
Really?
Oh my God. We're going to send you to diabetes class.
Nope.
I swear, kids who are diagnosed at like 2 should have to go to a class.
Why?
When they turn 18. Because you know nothing about diabetes.
Am I alive or am I not alive?
Oh my God.
Riddle me this, Batman.
Yeah, you know enough to know that it's part of you. Like, you just know that part. You're very good. Are you planning to do anything differently this year?
No.
Well, you'll have a kitchen, so
oh yeah, I might cook some more food.
I mean, you don't have to. We'll still have the meal plan and stuff.
I'll probably, because the breakfasts, they're horrible. It's like the most powdered eggs I've ever seen. The sausages are like the size of my pinky and like dry. So I'll probably make my own breakfast. and have some more snacks because I never had snacks in the room.
Oh. How did it go with supplies?
That was actually probably the biggest pain in the ass of all of it because our insurance doesn't like us and won't send stuff for me to like pick up at a CVS out of state.
Yeah, we're having. I actually spoke to somebody for the podcast, and the episode probably will not have aired yet, who is more of an insurance expert, and she gave me some advice. And so, sneak peek. What she said was, it's probably better for us to use Amazon. We have Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina, which is very state specific, and so we can't ship things out of state. They don't contract with out of state CVS, Walgreens, that kind of stuff. So Benny tried to get insulin; it would have been full price. Even Edgepark sending infusion sets to different states, it would go up by $50 to ship it to Virginia. It was ridiculous. So she suggested Amazon, which we did look at, but that was for, I don't think that was for insulin. I think that was for other things before you went to college. So we're going to look at that this summer and see if we can change it. It wasn't terrible.
That was for some of my diabetes supplies, though.
Right. We can ship things to you, and we were up there a little bit. So.
Yeah, it was just a pain in the because like if I ran out of something, I had to be like on top of it. Because if I ran out of something, it couldn't just get shipped to me. It had to get shipped to my house, and they had to ship it to me. Yeah.
You did very well with that, which thrilled me. When you first called me in the fall and was like, I have about 2 weeks left of this supply, I was like, oh my God, I'm so proud, But when you, we had a problem with the Dexcom transmitter because you thought you had it with you.
Yeah.
And you didn't.
I did not.
You did not. It was here. And so.
I was so confident I had it too.
Yeah, because you thought you took it home after spring break.
Yeah.
And I thought you did too, but we still had it. So we tried to get that. We were due for a new prescription. We had a refill, is what I'm trying to say. We tried to get it refilled at CVS down the street from you. It would have been full price. I had one in my kitchen. It was $20 to ship, but it took forever for you to get it. It got there on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
But George Mason mailroom.
So the thing with the mailroom is if it gets there later in the day, you're not going to see it for 2 days because everything they do is super manual. It all gets sent somewhere off campus. Then someone in a van goes and gets it. And then they distribute it into the little, lockers.
I still maintain if you had gone there Saturday morning and said, I have a medical device coming, you would have gotten it sooner. But you don't like to do that. So you went Dexcom.
I could go a couple days without a Dexcom.
Did you poke your finger
Nope.
every 5 hours?
Nope.
Every
Nope.
10 hours?
Nope.
I hate you so much. You're telling people bad things. Oh, gosh. See, this is where I hesitate to even put this on the show, which I will. I'll obviously leave that in.
Don't silence me.
No, I won't. I'll leave it in. But it makes me feel you're fine. You're sitting here. You're fine. You gave yourself insulin that whole time. The pump was working. Obviously, the Control-IQ was not working. I can see your numbers. They were fine. They weren't great. They were fine. But as you listen, I know that you probably understand why I feel really conflicted about letting everybody know that you weren't doing regular finger sticks. It's hard. I feel like, am I a good enough parent? Should I let my son represent?
No, Mom, you're the world's worst diabetes mom. You're still the world's worst diabetes mom.
Looking at a sign in my office. But when most people on social media
with a different shirt
are showing really great graphs and charts and everything, we had to differentiate the two different book titles.
And glasses.
I should have called it something else.
I think it was good.
Thank you. Well, I have glasses now.
What else would you have
I wanted to call it The World's Worst Diabetes Bomb Rides Again, but that was stupid.
Ugh, that's horrible.
Yeah. So we did that. We got way off topic.
It should have been Benny's the Best.
Yeah, that's
ever.
the next book.
Got it. Can I have a little caricature?
Yes. I can't believe we don't have a little caricature for you. That'd be really funny.
Yeah, have me in the corner.
But I think you understand, and it sounds, Benny, like you understand too, why I feel a little weird about letting you be you.
I understand as much as a son can understand. Moms are going to worry. It doesn't matter if it's about diabetes or they're out on their bike when they're 11 or whatever. That's just how it's going to be. And you constantly tell me that you think you're being really annoying or something. And you're not. Because once a week I get are your numbers okay?
Well, the perfect example was Clarity hadn't updated in 2 days. And I texted you and I was like, hey, I know you're at work. This is really weird. Are you wearing your Dexcom? And you were like, I'm wearing it. But
it expired 2 days ago and I didn't feel like changing it.
But I try not to say, son, what are you doing? I try to be nice.
You dishonor your family. Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow.
I try to not bother you because I do trust you. I do think you're responsible enough. I do think you're not perfect, but I do
I
think
thought you were supposed to encourage your son.
it would not. This is about as encouraging as I can get right now. But I feel like it's not my place to be up in your face in this stage of life, diabetes or not.
Yeah.
You and Leah are young adults. There's a lot that she does that I'm like, but I cannot be careful. So it's the same thing with you.
Yeah, but I'm like 10 times cooler.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh my God. All right. What are we forgetting to talk about? We always get the same questions about like what? Oh, so
Give me some of the same questions.
well, about being low. Like my biggest concern about you being low is you being low and doing something else. You being low in driving, you being low in walking around the campus at night by yourself, that kind of stuff. I'm not worried about you being low and not treating it, especially with your Dexcom alarming and with Control IQ there to help you out. So that's not something that keeps me up at night, but you low and driving does. But you're very responsible, I think.
Yes. Well, the thing with like my low blood sugars is when I'm low, I don't have the energy to do anything else. The first thing on my mind when I'm low is not, let's go drive. It's, holy shit, get some food. And that's it.
Yeah. And when you are driving, I assume that if your Dexcom starts trending down, you take action.
Yeah. I mean, I don't trend down that often, but honestly, I can't think of but one time when I've gotten in the car and been like, maybe I shouldn't drive right now because of my diabetes.
Right. In high school, it happened a couple of times.
I did. I pulled over into a church and ate and drank a Gatorade.
Yeah. No, it happened a couple times. One of the things we talked about last year, and we've talked about your whole life with diabetes, is telling other people. How did that go this year? I mean, you had to tell your roommate, obviously, and I know you told your fraternity. So tell us a little bit about that.
So after rush week, well, do you want me to start with my friends or the fraternity?
Whichever.
So when we moved in to the floor, like the first thing I did when you guys left after like introducing myself was like, hey, I have diabetes. And they were like, okay, who cares? And then my roommate, I told him, I was like, if I ever like die, I need you to do X, Y, Z. He's like, okay.
You told him about emergency glucagon.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you tell him in real words.
Yeah. So with the fraternity, I knew I was going to end up pledging. So after rush week, and once I found out who my new member educator was, I was like, hey, I have type 1. I'm never going to use it as an excuse to not do something. But if I need to not do something, I'm going to tell you. And then I'm going to walk away. And I was lucky enough to find a fraternity that was like, be safe. That's what we want. We're very against alcohol hazing. People get dropped if we find out they do that. So
good.
I was very comfortable there.
Good. Did you ever have to walk away from anything for type 1? You don't have to tell us what it is. I'm just curious if you ever had to make a stand.
Well, okay, so one time my blood sugar did go low, and luckily we were at one of the houses. So I stopped what I was doing, and I went out of the room we were in and sat down for a minute, and like one of them brought me some like candy. And I was like, thanks.
That's great. I mean, that was my biggest concern with fraternities because I was in a sorority, and I was in a sorority in the 90s, early 90s, when hazing was supposedly really bad. My sorority, was very nice. It was
Gamma Phi?
Gamma Phi Beta.
One.
Yeah. But I remember telling you, and I think this is good advice for anybody whose kids are joining Greek life or any organization where you're not sure about what's going to happen. And I said, look, you're a really strong kid. I'm really not worried about you standing up for yourself. Strong mentally as well as physically. Just remember that these could be friends you'll have for the rest of your life. But if they're not looking out for you, these are a bunch of holes that you can walk away from.
Yeah.
And you were like, I get it, Mom. You were always, I didn't even have to tell you that, which was wonderful, but I had to say it out loud. And it turns out that they were a good bunch of guys.
Most of them.
Well, that's any good.
Yeah. I've always been like, I don't really need other people's like validation or anything. I don't really care. I'm going to do what I want. And I know a couple people that aren't like that within the fraternity. So.
It's hard. That's a hard way to be. I mean, you're a people pleaser in that you do nice things, but you're not a people pleaser in that you're going to put yourself at risk in any way, whether that's diabetes or being uncomfortable in any way.
And I mean, obviously there were some uncomfortable moments while I was pledging, but like nothing was like, ah.
So you're going to the endocrinologist in about a week or so. I don't know if I'm going.
I would prefer not.
I'm not going.
Actually, I don't care if you want to come.
Okay, we can talk about it. What's on your mind? Anything on your mind? Anything you want to talk about?
I just like seeing Dr. V.
He likes seeing you too. We're very lucky that way.
Yeah, because I'm his favorite.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know. Longest tends to equal favoritist.
You are his longest term patient. And I think I've told this story before, but I said to him at one point when you were being like a real doofus when you were like 15 or 16, and I said to Dr. Vanderwall, I was like, hey, Tell me, like, all of your other patients who were diagnosed as toddlers, like, they like get to their mid-20s and they have brains again, right? And he was like, well, I don't know. I've never had anybody go from 2 to 26. Betty's my longest, consecutive patient. He's like, I've had patients who've gone from 17 to 26 or, whatever, or they age out, but nobody that long. So you're like the test case.
I'm the best.
I don't know about that. But it'll be interesting to talk to him. I think he'll give you some good guidance, and it's good to check in.
The only reason I like going alone is because I'm in there for significantly less time.
Are you saying I like to chat?
Yeah. Well, like, you always have questions about, like, stuff outside of my diabetes world. It's like, have you seen this new thing and this? And then I'm like, I'm never going to use that. I don't care.
Yeah, and he asks me questions too because he listens to the podcast, which is really cool.
And, like, I don't care that you guys talk. It's just when I go alone, I am there for, like, probably 20 minutes less.
But it's such a long drive. Why do you want to be in there for so little time?
I don't care that I'm in there for longer or shorter. It's just one of the differences.
I thought maybe more time to shop at South Park.
I don't have money. What are we talking about?
So we should talk to Dr. Vanderwall about this. I'll make you a list if I'm not going to be there. You're going to change to the G7.
Oh, I am?
If you want to. You updated your pump so you could do Libre, G7, or G6.
You know what I think would be really interesting? This just popped into my head. You know how, like, listeners always ask you questions? You should do a segment with me of your listeners' kids who have questions.
Oh, okay. Let's do that before you go back to college.
Or Mom's Night Out plug if the kids have questions for other moms.
Okay. We'll restrict that to under 18s.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I will ask, and hopefully we'll come back and you can talk about it. Man.
What?
You're just such a not perfect person with diabetes.
Let me make one thing very clear.
I worry about your example.
No one listening is perfect either. Okay? If you think that, you're wrong.
And I always say, like, you're not a great example because I'm mean and obnoxious. But one thing I think you're a fantastic example of, and I would love to take credit for this, but I don't think I can, is you're just really comfortable with diabetes. Yeah. You tell people, you do change your equipment, thank God. You fill your pump up, you keep it charged mostly. You did need the supplies I sent you with, and you got new ones, so I know you were using it. I think you were changing infusion
No, I was
sets.
just throwing out unused insets so that I could have an empty box.
But you're really comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fabulous example. You're just confident about it. And I think that's great, but I don't know if you can teach that.
You probably could beat it into somebody. Whoop-ah! Whoop-ah!
What do you credit your parents, and if so, in what way?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this on the podcast, I think, about how, like, I'm confident partly because that's just who I am and partly because I think that's the way I was raised. But also, like, I'm the greatest ever. And,
okay.
Amazing.
All right.
You don't get too much credit.
All right. Thank you. All right. On that note, let's leave on a high note. Thank you, Benny. It's great to see you. Thanks for going to the grocery store for me today and bringing home dinner.
Oh, my God. I forgot to get dessert, and that's kind of sad.
We have leftover ice cream cake from last night. Oh, I won't say that. I didn't make it. You know what you could do? Why don't you clean your room? You'll probably find some dessert under some dirty laundry.
I don't think I will.
We're going to have to talk about that. Thanks, Benny. I love you.
Go to Mom's Night Out or you're a loser.
You're supposed to say I love you too,
Oh, I love
Mommy.
you too, Mommy. All wrongs reserved. All rights avenged.
Close. Thank you, Benny.
It's always a lovely time.
You're listening to Diabetes Connections with Stacey Sims.
Oh, boy. All right, send me your questions. Send me your kids' questions for Benny. You can email me, stacy@diabetes-connections.com, or you can post them in the Facebook group. I'll be putting up, a conversation about that when the episode goes live. I'd love to hear what's on your kids' minds, and we'll pass that off to Benny. I do usually hear from a few people after we run episodes like this, asking what his specific numbers are. I know you're not just being nosy. I know a lot of people want that to put things in perspective, but apologies, or not really. I don't share his numbers, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I always get at least one email that says, well, they must be terrible. I'm sure he has a double-digit A1C because you're not sharing it. That bothers me still, if I'm going to be honest with you, but it really is none of anybody's business, and it's up to Benny when he wants to share that. So all I can say is what I always say, which is that his endocrinologist tells me he is doing just fine. he is safe and to leave him alone. Easier said than done, right, moms and dads? Oh my goodness. Quick reminder before I let you go about Mom's Night Out. The early bird specials are live for Denver and Philadelphia. We have opened the room block for Denver. It's actually in Aurora, Colorado. So I really hope to see you there if you're in that neck of the woods. We will be opening the room block for Philadelphia, which is actually in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, which is pretty much a suburb of Philly. More information to come on both of those conferences. I have speaker announcements, lots more fun stuff coming up. Thanks as always to my editor, John Buchanan from Audio Editing Solutions. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Stacey Sims. I'll see you back here soon. Until then, be kind to yourself.
Diabetes Connections is a production of Stacey Sims Media. All rights reserved, all wrongs avenged.
Most people who take insulin have experienced low blood sugar. It can be disorienting and scary. Very low blood sugar is very scary. And that's where Gvoke HypoPen comes in. Gvoke HypoPen is a ready-to-use rescue pen for treating very low blood sugar in people with diabetes ages 2 and above. If you take insulin or sulfonylureas, you are at risk for your blood sugar going too low. Low blood sugar emergencies can happen unexpectedly, and they demand quick action. You need a safety net when it matters most. Be ready to treat very low blood sugar with Gvoke HypoPen. Go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the Gvoke logo. Gvoke shouldn't be used if you have a tumor in the gland on top of your kidneys called pheochromocytoma, or if you have a tumor in your pancreas called insulinoma. Visit gvokeglucagon.com/risk for safety information.